probably half of the blockchain and crypto industry has moved to Dubai. So it's been just one of the most amazing cities to be in since, well, since the pandemic. But I wanted to let our panelists here introduce themselves. We're going to be talking about the future of cryptocurrency markets and where we think things are going to be going over the next year or so. So I'll give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what your companies do, how you're associated with TDeFi.
Hi guys, my name is Michael. I'm CEO and founder of Aimedis. We're a telemedical platform and the world's first NFT marketplace for healthcare and science.
Hi everyone, I'm Sami, Sipila, co-founder and CEO of Housemaster. Housemaster is a gaming house that combines DeFi as well and enables staking interest on gaming accounts.
Hi there, my name is Anish Mohammed. I am the co-founder and CTO of Panther Protocol. We provide privacy for DeFi.
Amazing, fantastic. So,
okay, we have Amanjot also here. So he is country head of Bitay. So Amanjot, I would request you to please join the panel.
I'm going to move down and we'll just pull this.
Okay.
Perfect, welcome. Yeah, just tell us a little bit about what your company does and how you're involved in the space.
Okay, so I represent Bitay. Bitay is a Turkish exchange. We have been running in Turkey for the past 3.5 years. We have a $20 million daily traded volume. 60 cryptocurrencies are being traded and more than 700,000 KYC users. So it's a big market. We have captured it nicely and now we're doing a global launch starting with multiple countries. I'll be taking care of India, so I'm the country head of India. And I'm also taking care of the product now. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been involved with exchanges for the past 3-4 years now. And yeah, I understand the business pretty well.
Fantastic, thank you. So we're, like I said, going to be talking a bit about the future of cryptocurrency markets. So maybe some of the most exciting things coming up, the current state of the market today. Talking about future markets is always a risky thing, so I always want to say at the beginning of something like this, please, make your own investment decisions, and whatever we talk about here on stage is speculation and obviously great advice, but please always do your due diligence for something like that. So a friend of mine, a good friend, Tim Draper, who's an incredible Bitcoin and blockchain, very, very bullish investor in the space, has said that he thinks Bitcoin will reach 250K by, I think, the end of 2022. I think this is super ambitious. Obviously, I would like that to happen. It's super exciting. But what do you guys think about that?
Hi there. I'm going to be skeptical. So I shall admit I've been in this ecosystem quite long. So I started out really early as an advisor to Ripple in 2013. And then I worked in the Ethereum team as well. So I've seen evolution and like every cycle going up and going down. The odds that it'll be like 250K in 2022 is incredibly low. I'm willing to bet against it.
Well, since I got very much on alts myself, I will be quite upset if that's the case. But obviously, it's gonna be great for all the crypto if that happens. I'm a bit skeptical as well. We have been going up for so long time, but what is happening anyway is that always the new highs are higher and the lows are higher as well. So I'm not an analyst in that space. Very hard to predict. Obviously, there's many things that actually drive that. So there's the adoption of big brick and mortar banking giants as well that have now gone crypto, and that means that really old money is starting to flow into the crypto as well. And if Bitcoin is basically the new gold, then I don't see any reason for massive growth in the future as well.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, anyway, cryptocurrency has come to stay, right? It's not more a game. It's really serious business now, and a lot of institutions have come into the business. So it's not like private people or people on the dark net doing things, but it's really serious people coming into this field, and a lot of money has flown into this, especially in DeFi. That's not going to go away because there's so much interest behind it, and the technology speaks for itself, right? So I think the prediction is quite realistic. I mean, as the other said, it's very volatile, so it might be up and down a little bit, but it's not going to go back to where it was 3 years ago. So we will not have these lows. That's my opinion.
Absolutely.
Hello. I- all are on the same page to that, but Tim Draper is saying that because I think like now the markets are stabilizing and the movements are not that volatile. It might be wrong, but can what I feel is that there is a lot of stability coming in. There's a lot of compliance coming in. Institutions are coming in, and I think we are taking crypto mainstream now. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up decentralized finance. I'd actually like to talk about that a little bit more as well. You know, talking about the future of crypto, one of the reasons that DeFi, for me, is so exciting, you know, as an investor and as someone who's actually recently started a trade group in El Salvador, you know, where 70% of the country is unbanked. And, you know, the President Bukele has actually essentially given his people a way to sort of bank themselves overnight, 70% of his country. So I know that obviously there's a lot of controversy surrounding the government's decision to do this, but I think it's, you know, you can undoubtedly say that he's brought tons of new opportunities to his country through this. And so, you know, decentralized finance gives us the opportunity to lend money, to borrow money, to create investment policies. And for me, this legitimizes the industry on a whole new level. This takes us closer to being a truly advanced financial system. So what are some of the most exciting things that, you know, you all think about DeFi? What are some of the things we should be careful about? I just want to kind of focus on that just for a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I think it's not only about unbanked people. I mean, unbanked people are a really big issue here, or a big topic in this context. But I think anywhere in the world, people are fed up with the system as it is. Let's take a look at banks. You have money in the account. Some people have more, some people have less. But you have to pay a fee. You don't get an interest. You have to pay maybe a penalty that you have money in the account. So what's the issue there? I mean, it's still your property, right? And why do you have to pay for your own property to some institution that says, hey, it's our right, and we are the only ones who have the possibility to store your money? Yeah, so you're doomed and you have to go with us. That's just not correct. And people are developing on it. Everyone uses the internet. Everyone is connected and speaking about these things. And people are not going to accept this anymore.
Yeah, so actually really what Michael was talking about, in Eurozone, the interest rate at the moment is 0. In Argentina, it's more than 30%. Now, if there is a mass adoption of crypto, it's obvious that there has to be a globalization of interest rates as well at the same time. And it's going to create whole new players, and there's going to be a massive amount of opportunities in this space. Of course, there has to be a close cooperation with regulation, but can we have, for example, in 15, 20 years, one massive operator providing mortgages in Argentina and Eurozone, for example? Absolutely fascinating.
So I'm going to be a bit more cynical as usual. So I'll give you a few trends. So as somebody who has worked in a whole bunch of protocols, my view is kind of lots of things that could happen. The immediate thing we need to recognize is, in total, you have like 2 trillion worth of assets that's in DeFi. And the underlying infrastructure at this point in time, the throughput is very bounded, as in like it's low. So you can't have efficient price discovery in one sense. That's one part of it. If that gets solved, literally that market size will change significantly. The second part we need to recognize is like, if you look at the global asset marketplace, at the low risk space, you probably at best, you're going to get like 3% yield. But if you look at any liquidity mining of any kind in the DeFi space, you see it's north of 6 to 8%. So that gives you an idea of where it is that things are going. And obviously, I have to say something about what I'm interested in, which is privacy. And I see a lot of interest in privacy. So I see privacy and selective disclosure coming in. I definitely see better high throughput protocols that gives better price discovery and efficient price discovery and capital efficiency. And I definitely see more and more institutionals looking for yield in the DeFi space.
Yeah, I think you summarized it really well. You covered all the topics. I'll actually be the devil's advocate here. Let me do that. So what I feel is that a lot of things are being, blown out of proportion in DeFi. Like there's a lot of buzz, a lot of bubbles, tokens getting sale here and there. So many sales are happening. But you have to enter DeFi space. How do you enter DeFi space? How do you exit DeFi space? You need that. So it's good to actually work in that bubble. There's a lot of growth opportunities. Obviously, we have so many things happening in the space. But eventually, it's going to be segregated into two parts. One is going to be, which is on the compliance side, where you have to work with governments, regulators, banks. And the DeFi space gives you flexibility to move your assets around globally, do things, invest here and there. But the moment you want to exit, there will be questions to be asked. You can't do things without anonymity. You're talking about privacy. Yeah. Right. So no, but that's good to do a lot of things. But if you want to do things in the real world, then probably you will have to showcase your identity and work with the governments. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Okay, let me try this. Oh, yes. So I want to be really clear what I said about privacy. Privacy has two aspects to it. Privacy doesn't imply anonymity. Privacy implies you decide who you want to reveal something to. Selective disclosure, let me explain why this is important. If you are from the traditional financial space, if I were to ask you, do you know the strategy of Renaissance Technologies? Most people who don't have an NDA and who don't work for Renaissance Technologies don't know what their strategy is. They have 40% APY, okay? 40%, 40. So the moment you try to deploy any strategy into DeFi, it's a smart contract. Everybody could see it. I could go to the graph and deploy a subgraph on your smart contract. I can copy your trades. So your depth of the market, disappears virtually in front of your eyes. So literally, you have no chance in hell. So that's the privacy aspect of it. The other part of it is selective disclosure. If you have a KYC and you do such things as like you deploy your strategy, you have a upside, and you defend your alpha, and when you exit, like what he was describing, you could then disclose to your IRS, HMRC, whatever that is, that these set of transactions have been done by me or my entity, and then you can say, okay, I'll pay taxes for that.
Absolutely. No, I'm really glad that you all brought up privacy and regulation, because that's a huge deal, especially in a market changing as quickly as the blockchain industry is. I'd like to dive a little bit more into regulation. Everyone here seems to operate on a pretty international level with their companies. So how do you handle dealing with regulations that differ from country to country? Do you have to black out certain countries? Are you able to only take in certain types of investors? How do you handle different regulations internationally?
So I think of all the people we pay the most, I think we pay the lawyers the most. So even close to my tech team, like we have lawyers in Gibraltar, we have lawyers in the US, we have lawyers, I can't remember whichever countries we have. It's incredibly difficult. Navigating the regulatory arbitrage is very difficult. Every time you have a change in one part of the world, it's like a deck of cards. There is a ripple effect across the whole space. FATCA, whatever that was just passed in March, first appeared somewhere in Europe, then appears in Gibraltar, then all around the world you have all these implications. It's incredibly hard. We try to play at the least, least risky strategy, which is like take the thing that's most legal in all the places and try apply that. So that's our strategy so far. We don't do anything risky. I don't know how other people deal with it.
Well, my industry is extremely regulated, so I need one company in Curaçao because I need the licensor approval over there. Just for the payments, I will need a separate company in Cyprus because otherwise payment service providers won't provide me all the services because they will have issues with the regulators. And then, of course, I will need a separate company that actually holds all the tokens. So it has been made very difficult in my industry. I don't want to go to massive level of detail because it is an industry where you really are walking the line all the time. So regulators are definitely causing problems in our industry.
In terms of regulations, I think, we are dealing with two types of regulations. First, we have this cryptocurrency regulative stuff, and we also have this medical regulative stuff, which combined is complicated, but the world changes fast regarding that. So in the end, what the customer wants, the customer gets, right? And if there's need for adaptation, in some countries it's more difficult. In some countries you would say, better not do it. See China, what's happening there at the moment. But in the end, there will be a way of regulating things properly and to find a way through these regulations. We also have lawyers who are taking care of the GDPR compliance stuff, HIPAA compliance stuff in the United States, the cryptocurrency stuff. But it can be handled. There are already many tools and many people knowing a lot about this, so not so much of an issue for us at the moment.
Do you feel like you're sort of pioneering new regulation in the industry since you're creating a blockchain company in medical, do you feel like you're writing new regulations for government in a way?
Yeah, it's a little bit, yeah. It's like that, yeah, because you just have to do some things and just push them and see what the reaction is. It's better, as some people say, it's better to try and say sorry than to ask and get a no, right? So you just go for it, and most of the things will go through. Sometimes they don't, then you correct it, but there's no one saying, no, you cannot do it, stop it. So it's kind of a competition that is fun also.
So I've been working with regulators a lot. So coming from India, again, we don't have any regulation there, but there are so many stakeholders. They keep on changing their mind about the services they want to provide the crypto industry, and it's a juggle. It's an ongoing juggle there. Like you have to have multiple payment solutions for customers to join and access the markets. I was also working with the governments of Switzerland and Liechtenstein, the regulators. It's all very different. So I think what I've realized that the industry is moving much fast as compared to the regulators, how they can move, because sometimes they don't also understand a lot of things. They're not able to differentiate between a utility token, a stable coin, a security token, and then now we have NFTs as well. So while I was working, so it was difficult to explain, what's the utility and what's the security. They were getting confused in that. So it takes time for them. There's a act called Blockchain Act in Liechtenstein. As per that, they're issuing licenses there. But it took them a while to develop that act, and then the whole process was close to 12 months. So they ask a lot of questions, and it's a complicated thing. While I was presenting them the overall KYC solutions that we have as per their law, they speak mostly German. So it was like they were very friendly to only German people in a way, which is like you have to be global. You have to be able to build a company from India out of Liechtenstein. That's possible. Yeah, that keeps on changing. We have to do reporting. They used to ask for more details, and then if I talk about compliance, then as we started dealing with everyone across the world, then eventually we realized that there are some countries which are like high-risk countries, medium-risk countries, and low-risk countries. And because of the regulations, we stopped offering services to certain countries which were like very high risk, and we were not getting a lot of customers from there. So it was like a lot of paperwork and a lot of answering and a lot of communication just for a very small set of users. So it was not worth it. So that's how things change, and then they keep on changing the list of these countries also. So yeah.
I think we've got time for maybe one more question, and then I want to open up a question for the audience. But you know, obviously, right now, NFTs, huge buzzword. Non-fungible tokens have been around for much longer than I think the public, than how the public views them right now. But you know, kind of broke into the public eye through the art world. But I don't think people realize how much NFTs are actually used for so many other things: authentication, you know, registration. How are you all incorporating that into your businesses?
So I'll try to explain my view and how we think it's going to happen. So to me, the biggest value of NFTs, ERC 721 to be more precise, is the fact that you have a class of illiquid assets and you can provide liquidity to that. And that to me is the key. And for me, in my platform, I'm providing privacy. So if you look at the art market, you know, as probably most of the people who own art would know, there's a large amount of privacy about, like, what do you hold, what do you want to sell, what price you bought, what price you want to sell. And this more or less applies to a lot of the illiquid assets. You want to have privacy. And so for me, among the many things that NFT is going to really make happen is this, you know, massive surge of secondary and tertiary markets based on this liquidity surge that, you know, primary illiquid assets are going to be converted into.
Well, we operate in entertainment industry, so obviously the digital art is a sort of obvious way for us to implement it. But I think NFTs can be in the future used to really expedite the relatively heavy KYC processes that we have to implement. And I see a massive utility in that space for NFTs.
I think that this thing must become much more mainstream, because, you know, when we look at each other here, everyone is talking about blockchain, everyone is knowing the principles, but when you go out into the real world, you see that a lot of people even have heard of blockchain or even don't understand the principle behind it. I think every principle that is coming new to the market has to become mainstream, and I think that's one of the strongest competitions that we all face, to make people understand the use case of that. Because when I talk, especially I talk to people in my family, and I tell them about blockchain, the only thing that they heard about is Bitcoin, and they hear about the news, there are some drug dealers doing stuff with Bitcoin. So that's what many people think. And when you come along and tell them about NFTs and, you know, all these other new great stuff that you can do with blockchain, it's a long way to go, I think. So NFTs are a great use case, no discussion about that, but it has to become also the usage of it itself. Look at tokens, look at NFTs. It has to become usable like a credit card, so that people don't have to handle private keys or install MetaMask in their Chrome browser, because that's stuff that people cannot do. And so there is a strong focus on user experience and user interfaces, how to implement this into the real world. Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, I think we're running out of time. Are there any questions that the audience want to ask our panel of experts here? Perhaps, okay, well, I have a question for you all. Does everyone here know how to actually go online and partake in DeFi or buying currency or anything like that? Yes? Yes? All right, well, I was going to say, if anyone here doesn't know how to do that, we would want to open up questions and teach you how. But I think because of our time constraints, we'll jump off. These guys will be available for questions over here on the side of the stage. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Could you please stay on the stage only? Yeah, one picture? One picture. Thank you, guys. That was a wonderful speech. That was a wonderful discussion. I would like my team to